How did I do this? 1 second. No. I see. I should have gone back to here. Okay. 1 second. I've got to know what to press. Back to meeting.
I got it.
Good. Now I just have to get, how do I get back to this again? Share a screen. There it is. Oh. Share screen. Here it is. Yes. Okay. Eicha yeshva badad. Ha'ir Rab Siam. This is the beginning of the book of Lamentations, which was written by Jeremiah, the prophet. He's talking about the destruction of the first temple. And he's lamenting. You can imagine what it was. I mean, if you think about it in a way, it was worse than the Holocaust. Not to minimize the Holocaust in any way, but to maximize the tragedy, the heartbreaking, soul-destroying tragedy of the destruction of the first temple. All of the Jews were all together. They were all living in the Holy Land. Everyone was doing the Torah and the commandments. They were doing sins also, but they were all doing Torah and commandments. They had the Holy Temple. They could feel that there's a creator. They would go to the Holy Temple, all the Jews, 3 times a year, and they would be happy. They would feel happiness. Okay, you can go into history that the kingdom was split, etc., but nevertheless, that's what there was. And as soon as the temple was destroyed, all of the Jewish people were affected. They were 99.9% of them were taken into captivity in Babylon. There was rivers of blood. Terrible destruction. And the Holocaust, not all the Jews were affected. And all the Jews weren't all together. Here, all the Jews were affected. Eicha yeshva badad, and the year of Jeremiah looked at the city of Jerusalem and said, how are you sitting alone, desolate, abandoned? Badad means abandoned. Ha'ir Rab Siam, the city that was once filled with people. Eicha yeshva badad, ha'ir Rab Siam, sarsi b'midino, sayasam damas. Sad. Mimor, Chabad Kedush's Admor at Tzemach Tzedek. The third Rebbe of Chabad is called the Tzemach Tzedek. His name was really Menachem Mendel, which is the same gematria as Tzemach Tzedek. And Tzemach is his name. His name is Tzemach. The Mashiach is Tzemach. That's why they called him the Tzemach Tzedek. They called him Tzemach Tzedek after he had passed away. It was called the Tzemach Tzedek because I maybe in the time they thought he was the Mashiach. Actually, I think afterwards, because they were certain that he was the Mashiach. Tzemach, the Mashiach is Tzemach David. He said, Yeshiva badad. What does it mean, Yeshiva badad? What does it mean the city is dwelling abandoned, alone, desolate? Who is Kamosh Gatuv, like it says, Hashem badad yanchenu. The word badad means abandoned, but the word badad also means alone in a good way. That God alone will conduct the Jewish people. In other words, the Jewish people see the truth, that really God He's their friend. He's helping them, protecting them. Batach badad ein Yaakov. Another place where it says the Jews will dwell with certainty, alone, the precious eye of Jacob. In Hebrew, it's not in English, they don't have a thing like that, but I think the Arabs also have Yaoni, but my eyes, something that's very precious to you is my eyes. Ayin Yaakov, that were the precious one of Yaakov. But then I said, what does it mean? In other words, good, it's a good thing. Eicha yeshva badad means the Jewish people, they're sitting alone with God. Hey, this is good. Right, they're sitting, they're certain in certainty. Right, that's what the Tzemach Tzedek said. What the Tzemach Tzedek is ignoring the tragedy over here? The simple meaning is Jeremiah, the prophet, saw the destruction of Jerusalem, of the Holy Temple, and he was mourning. How can it be? Oh, it's terrible. Look what's happened to the Jews. What's happened to them? They're being murdered, raped, tortured, driven out of their land, robbed. They're the lowest, most helpless people in the world. They're sitting badad. And the Tzemach Tzedek says, no, this word badad is used intentionally. Jeremiah was really intending to say that the Jews were really, really attached to God. God was alone with them. It was really good. I mean, can there be a bigger, how do you say, denial of the truth than this? How can it be that the Jewish people were sitting so high? The Tzemach Tzedek continues, because of Rab Si'am. This is made by a multitude of people. The Jews are so many. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek says. Says the Rebbe, and we have to understand. Eicha hu lashon tamia. This word eicha means, how can it be? Plia, it's coming from a broken heart. How can it be? I don't believe it. According to what Yeshiva, it means that the Jewish people were the highest level that it could possibly be. God alone is conducting them. Bechinat badad. This is the level of badad in a good way, like it says mechutz lemachaneh badyad yeshev lamal yusa. It says by a leper that he has to live outside of the camp, badad alone. This also can be interpreted in a good way. Lamaila mishtalsos, outside of all the camps, above all of any of the levels of the world, above spiritual, connected to the Creator. Let's say that maybe really and spiritually, this is really what's happening and we don't see it. And okay, good. But if so, then the whole word eicha doesn't make any sense. Let's say you want to reinterpret the word badad. That badad means very low, but really it means really high. Really, it means very, and we can see that there's all these, you can take seminars and these books that really, the low things in the world, they're really challenges, opportunities. They're really opportunities. You lost your job, you got, God forbid, a person loses his job, he gets sick, he gets kicked out of his house, he gets put in jail. These are opportunities to raise yourself up. And there is a point to that. There's a point to that. I mean, why look at, in Yiddish, there's a saying, we said this before, if you lost your money, you didn't lose anything. But if you lost your attitude, you lost everything. Geld verloren, Gornish verloren, Mut verloren, Alts verloren. You lose your good. So a person, God forbid, he loses everything and he's sick. And it says, but your attitude, nobody can take from you. Your attitude, nobody is, practical, stoic teachings. Your attitude, no one can take from you. Right? Your attitude is in your house. If you lose your attitude, then you lost everything. You have your attitude, then you could. So maybe that's what that Tzemach Tzedek is saying. Even though they lost everything, but still, right? Hidden inside of this is this hidden treasure that in order to get it, you had to lose everything. You had to stop holding on to the old stuff, the meaningless stuff, and get to could be. Okay, so that sort of makes sense. But then what does the word eicha mean? Eicha means, look what happened. How could it be so terrible? The word eicha means eicha yeshva badad. This is awful, right? A person, God forbid, you can imagine he goes home, finds his house has been robbed, and all of his there's a note over there. Taken your whole family into captivity. I kidnapped your whole family and wrecked the whole house. He comes home. How could it be? What? My wife's sister, one day she came home and found that somebody had broken into her house and robbed it here in Israel. And she had to be hospitalized. She was just so broken. She She had to be hospitalized for a while, to calm down. That's what Jeremiah is saying. Eicha, how could it be? Eicha, how could it be that Jerusalem is sitting like this? How could it be? Okay, good. So that's what Jeremiah said. But the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek, he wants to interpret badad in a good way. But the word eicha for sure doesn't work there. The word eicha does not fit in with the Tzemach Tzedek's deep explanation. That badad, even though superficially seems to be a terrible thing, but really if you look deeply, you'll find it's really something good. Good, but how does the word eicha fit in there? What is a tragedy? How can I'm astounded how wonderful this is, and where is it wonderful? You see the whole city is destroyed, so you say to yourself, there must be something deep inside of this, but that's not astounding. Oh, this is so wonderful. My whole house has been destroyed, and my family's been taken into captivity. This is wonderful. Eicha, I'm so. What's eicha? What is so terrible? It's surprisingly bad, right? What is so surprisingly bad about this good thing? According to Tzemach Tzedek says, but that is good. The word eicha means it's shockingly bad. That's what eicha means. So according to the Tzemach Tzedek, why is it shockingly bad that inside of this thing is considered something good? Let's see. So what is the wonder in this of the Jewish people that really in this destruction it's such a high thing? We have to understand what it says. The simple meaning. The simple meaning is, right? Let's not get too Kabbalistic or mystical about that. That's one of the reasons why Kabbalah can be dangerous. Why? Because you remove yourself from the simple meaning of the world, right? Everything has a meaning to it. Everything has a secret to it, right? The reason I took off all of my clothes is because to remove the veils of this. The reason I burned down this building is because fire is gavura, and right? Okay, you're messing. I remember one time I put tefillin on people in the streets on Friday. I go into this big marketplace in Israel, and there came walking by me this guy who looked like a criminal. He was a stocky guy, had all sorts of tattoos on him. He had these sort of beady eyes. Was a muscular sort of fellow, and I said, "Want to put on tefillin?" He said, "Yeah, sure, of course, I'll put on." So he said, so I put on the tefillin. I said, "Are you right-handed or left-handed?" He said, "I'm left-handed." So I said, "You have to put on your right hand." He said, No. You don't. It says, "I don't put on tefillin ever, but I know that tefillin have to be on your left arm, not on the right arm." I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Because I took a course in Kabbalah. There's the gavuras are on the left, and the tefillin come to fix up, which that's the idea of chesed and the four mochin, and that comes. The guy was telling me, so it's a Kabbalah, and he was ignoring the simple fact that in the Torah it says that you put the tefillin on the weak arm, the arm that you don't write with, right? So on Kabbalah you can mess everything up, a world. So let's get back to reality over here. The simple meaning of Eicha is, Yeshva badad is, Gadol HaYerida, how low and terrible it is. God's chosen people are now the lowest in the world. They have been taken prisoner by the Babylonians. Shalochi, and therefore, Korim Eicha, that's why we read Eicha and Tisha B'Av. That's the time of the destruction of the temple. If so, let's figure out how we can attach the simple meaning, which I'm sure that the Tzemach Tzedek was aware of the simple meaning, with the meaning that the Tzemach Tzedek gave to it, the Yeshva badad, that's sitting badad, abandoned, desolate, really is a good thing. So now we have two questions. How does the explanation of the Tzemach Tzedek, badad, mean something good? How does that fit in with reality? And even if you want to say, listen, down deep, there's something good there. So how does that fit in with Eicha? If it's good, then how does it fit in with the word Eicha that you're astounded by how bad it is? Eicha means that you're shocked by the destruction, by the lowness. The humans that we can understand this, behektim techila. First of all, we have to understand the great highness, according to the Tzemach Tzedek, let's understand first of all the Tzemach Tzedek's explanation. What does it mean, Yeshva Badad? How is it possible to look at such a terrible thing like the destruction of the temple and say that it's something that's the highest of the highs? How is it possible? It says, okay, let's first of all understand what the Tzemach Tzedek means by the highest of the highs. What is the real true potential that is awaiting or that is hidden inside of the world and of the Jews? What is he talking about? Something that we have not yet any inkling of. Shezeu, and this is the union of Betach Badad Yaakov. This is what it says, Ayin Yaakov, that the Jews will dwell, that they are the precious ones of Yaakov. The Jews are the precious ones of Hashem. They're alone with God. What does this mean? Shadiuk, Betach Badad Ayin Yaakov is like the rabbis say, not like Avram. Why are the Jews called the precious ones of Jacob? Not like Abraham. Why? Yaakov had two names, Yaakov and Yisrael. After Yaakov fought with the angel, so that he was given a second name. His first name was not taken away, like with Abraham, that he was called Avram, and then his name was totally changed, right, to Avraham. It was totally remodeled. Yaakov fought with the angel, and he was given the name Yisrael, but he still retained his name Yaakov. The Torah still refers to him as Yaakov afterwards. Not so Abraham. After Abraham's name was changed, it never refers to him again as Avram. It says, why? So Yaakov is the name of Jacob before he fought the angel, and Yisrael is after he fought the angel. All these levels are inside of us. So let's see, why is it called, why are the Jews sometimes here referred to as the being alone with God, the precious one of Jacob? The rabbis say that the Jewish people will not be like Avram, that it's really referring to the Holy Temple. Not like Avram, that by Avram it says it's called a mountain. And not like Yitzchak, that it says in it, Sada. It says that Yitzchak went out to Siach B'Sada, to pray in the field. But Yaakov said, it ends at Beit Elokim. He called the place of the Holy Temple, he called it a bayit, a house. 1 second, who could this be? 1 second. Or Chetzi Shah, b'vakasha. Chetzi Shah. I'm sorry, I shouldn't really answer that at all. Why Yaakov? So it says, because Yaakov, it says he called the place of the base of Migdash not just a mountain. That Yaakov, the place of the Beit HaMikdash, the place of the Mizbeach, of the altar, is where Abraham wanted to sacrifice Yitzchak, place of the Akedah. And it says it's the place where Yitzchak was praying. And also it's the place where Yaakov, it says that Yaakov went to sleep there. That's called the bias. Hainu sha'ilui, the betach, he called it a house. The ilui, the betach badad in Yaakov, he's talking about the certainty, the, how do you say, infiniteness that will be revealed there. That's the precious one of Jacob, which will be in the future. Ubafrat, and especially in the third temple, and this is the thing of Yaakov that called it bayit. Shenachlet Yaakov, that the inheritance of Jacob is an inheritance without any limitation. This is what's called Raiva the Raivin, which is called the will of all wills. Sometimes the pleasure of all pleasures. Like it says, call them mitaneg, all those who get pleasure from the Shabbat, who appreciate the Shabbat, they are given an inheritance in Nachala, Beli Mitzorim, which is unlimited. Nachlat Yaakov. Okay, let's not take this thing out of proportion. The purpose of the Jewish people, as we've learned in all the other Maimorim and Sichos and things that we've learned before, is to reveal the true meaning of this physical world. this physical world is pure godliness. All the other worlds are aspects of godliness, light of godliness, secrets of godliness, mysteries of godliness, all the other upper worlds. This world is essence godliness in this world, but it's totally concealed 1,000,000 times. Why God wants us to, why do he want to do that? And that's what the Bible says. That the Bible, the whole story of the Bible is that God created a world. That's the whole story. In this world is concealed something very, very deep. Only the Jewish people can reveal this very, very deep thing, this essential thing in the world. It's so concealed, though, that we have absolutely no idea what it's talking about, right? The closest that people can get are all these other religions to talk about going to heaven. Judaism also talks about going to heaven, but it's not a goal. It's just a fact. It's just something, in the middle. It's also sort of like, going to university in order to become a doctor. You're in university, it's like ideal there, it's all ideas and it's wonderful and that you can read and you have time, you're the doctor, all of a sudden you have blood on your hands and you have patients, people yelling, and right, there's the desperate situation. The main thing is to be in this physical world. The going to heaven, and that's all preparation stuff. In this physical world, somehow or other, is concealed such a tremendous, amazing meaning and blessing that we have we don't have any idea what it is. I mean, to the degree that even people that know all this stuff, they can read Chassidus and they can, right? The people in the second temple, in the first temple, here we have these people in the first temple. They saw how high the world is. They saw it is, and nevertheless, they couldn't really appreciate how important it is to do the commandments, all this. The point where the temple was destroyed, we didn't really appreciate it. And the third temple, we will appreciate it. And this is what's talking about how that me and you can get to this appreciation and reveal the true potential in ourselves. But this is not a Chassidic discourse or a doctoral thesis about ancient Chinese literature or something. The history of the Ming vase, to explain all these Kabbalistic ideas and really nice, really, wow, the Rebbe is really cool, really very smart person. The point is to feel our potential. And that's what's going to be the Ein Yaakov. Let's just go a little further. Bechinas Raiva the Raiva. Eventually will be revealed this level of the essence, pleasure of God in the world. Like it says, anyone who enjoys the Shabbos will have a little bit of a glimpse of this. And this high thing will be in the future, will be by means of preceding Yeshiva Badad, sitting alone in Gullus. By means of the Jewish people being abandoned now in the exile, this will reveal this true meaning, true blessing in the world. And it's almost the same thing. What is exile? Exile means that your true potential is not revealed. That's what exile is. There's such wonderful potential in the world inside of each human being, especially inside of each and every Jew, that's totally not revealed, right? Like we said it before, I remember in university, they would say, do you know that a person only uses 1% of his brain? Now they're saying it's less of his brain. Well, maybe we use 1% of our brain. We use even less of that of our soul. Some people never use their soul at all. And it's all there, all this amazing potential. And it's not just a quantitative number that we could use 100 times more of our brain than it's a qualitative, it's a totally different dimensions of our brain and of our soul. We don't use it all. We don't use it all. It says that is all going to be revealed, but the only way it can be revealed is by going through this period, which is called concealment. We have to go through this concealment. Why God did this, I don't know. The Jews had to be in Egypt before they could receive the Torah. Darkness comes before light. Vaye'erev vayiboker. That's what it says. Okay, that's enough for today. God willing, tomorrow. We're meeting tomorrow also. So we'll continue this Mimor. God willing, tomorrow. Now let's finish the sikha.
Is this Maimon going to talk about how this being in exile? You mentioned being in Egypt before receiving the Torah. It's connected to it being broken and then to being squeezed, as we discussed earlier.
No, listen. Yes, of course. But there, in that previous mimer, it was talking about a little sort of a different. There was trying to really activate us to feel, if you want to call it, really, really bad. Really bad. Not for a long time, maybe 1 second every day or 1 second every week, but really, really to feel bad.
It's right, really, pretty bad.
Yeah, to realize that, wow, the world is really in a terrible shape. But all of the other 99, % of our lives, or all the other, how many multiplied, 12 hours by 60 minutes, by 60 seconds, all the other time of the day and of the week, it has to be doing something about it. But the Rebbe wanted to let us know that we have to do something to fix up the world, and we can do something, and we must do something. And that's the previous mimer we learned. That responsibility and the awareness that we have the ability to fix up the whole world by just doing one little good thing, one more good thing. But it must be done. And as much as possible, you have to do it, or to say one more good word. So the Rebbe in the previous mimer, he wanted to crush us from the fact that we're in exile. Let's say it a better way. He wanted us to crush ourselves. That's the whole point. When the Jews, the previous mimer that we just learned, when the Jews were in Russia, when they were Jews in communist, when the Holocaust and this, so the religious, so they wanted to do the commandments, but they couldn't. They wanted to do the commandments, but they couldn't do them. They had opposition, like in the time of Purim, right? All of a sudden they said, no, I'm a Jew. I'm going to break through. I don't care if I lose my life. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to do the commandments. I'm going to be happy. I'm this. They wanted to do the commandments, but they were prevented. So they had self-sacrifice. Now, says the Rebbe, the problem is that nothing is preventing us. We just don't want to. The exile is here in front of us. We can see it, right? The Rebbe is convincing us that the exile is here. It's terrible. The world is filled with misery and confusion and wars and disappointments. The world, the disease, and we can actually fix it up. You don't believe you can? That's part of the problem. You can. Now you believe you can, you don't do it. That's also part of the problem. Do it. The Rebbe wants us to crush ourselves, but he's first of all has to convince us that there is a problem and that there is a solution and that we hold the solution and that we must use our abilities to fix the world. And again, you have to stress it more and more. Using our abilities doesn't mean that we have to be, some sort of a genius and gather millions of people and stand on the mountain and speak to them. It could just be saying good morning to somebody. It just could be a nice person. It could be not losing your temper one time, right? Not getting depressed, thinking positively. A simple thing. But in your mind this is going to be the little light that's going to illuminate all this darkness. We're going to see a new world. Huh?
Tough.
That's the previous mimer. The previous mimer, right? This mimer, the Rebbe is going to tell us what is inherent in obvious tragedy. What is really inherent and obvious? The biggest tragedy of all, the destruction of the temple. They say that there was rivers of blood. There were so many people killed. It could be that in the time of the first destruction, there were a bigger percentage of Jews killed than in the Holocaust. The thing of the Holocaust, though, it was like 5 years, and Jews were killed in the most atrocious ways, and in public there were pictures of it, and that, right? The Rebbe repeated that over and over again, in such just terrible, unspeakable ways. The Jews were, nowadays for a person to overcome that terrible confusion and disappointment of the Holocaust, especially our generation, it's a big miracle, but that's what we have to do. And that's sort of what the Rebbe wants to inspire in us here. in this Mimor Eicha, to show really where the potential of the Jews is and how it can be found specifically in this tragedy, as we'll talk about more tomorrow. Okay, now let's go to learn our Sikha. We're going to finish.